Welcome to Catholic Views. I'm your host, Renee Kranz. In studio, well, not in studio with me today, on Zoom, I have three wonderful people. I have Wade VanDover, who is in Big Stone City. Say hi, Wade.
Hi.
Hopefully, there he goes. There he's on the screen. All right. Wade is the chair of the Big Stone Fishing Tournament for the Bishop's Charity Fishing Tournament, which is coming up very, very soon. We also have with us BJ and Brandei Schaefbauer. Say hi, guys.
Hi. Hello.
There's BJ. They are the parents of soon-to-be priest Zach Schaefbauer, who will be ordained. Gosh, he'll be ordained by the time right after this airs. This will air on the 22nd. Hello, 22nd, because as you're hearing this, it's the 22nd. But he will be ordained in just a few days to be a priest for our diocese. So we're very excited about that. They have been quite involved with the fishing tournament. So we're going to talk with them and with Wade and get an idea of what happens at this fishing tournament and why it matters to everyone in our diocese. So thanks, you guys, for being here. I want to start with Wade. Will you tell us, Wade, how and why you got involved with this event?
Before I do that, I'd just like to maybe add a little accolades to the co-chair of the Val Roush here in Big Stone, and then we have co-chairs out in Pierre as well. So there's a lot of people leading that. Also, BJ and Brandei one time were chairs of the event when it was at Gettysburg. So
oh, wow.
I don't want to let people think I'm the chair. And
thank you.
Name the rest of those folks as well. So how and why I got started, we heard about the former bishop, now Archbishop Carlson, having a fishing tournament in Gettysburg. And I ran out there because I like fishing a lot. And when I came back, we had a young man from our parish that was recently ordained. His name is Father Doug Binsfeld. And I was talking to Val and said, hey, why don't we run a fishing tournament here to pay the bishop back for Father Binsfeld's ordination? And he was like, okay. So we got a hold of Archbishop. Val happened to be down there for some meeting and asked him. He said, go ahead. So that's how and why. The how was they had started one in Gettysburg, and the why was we wanted to pay the diocese back for the funds for educating Father Doug Binsfeld.
That's a great thing, because that's how we should be working is, when something great happens like that, to find ways to pay it back is really a beautiful thing. So thanks for doing that. So how has that grown over the years there? Because I'm sure, how long ago was this when it started in Big Stone City?
You guys helped me, 25-ish years, give or take one or two.
Okay.
You can see there was no gray when it started. There's a lot of gray now. How's it grown? I think first the committee has grown and expanded, and people have come and gone off the committee. That's one way it's grown, but the committee in and of itself, having organizations or clubs like the Sarah Club in Aberdeen or Watertown, Knights of Columbus is another way it's grown. They got on board and helped us raise funds. Another way it's grown is the number of people who attend, both in, I think we had 12 boats the first time we did it, and we were over 30-some boats last year.
Oh, wow.
And another way it's grown is we've started a virtual option.
Yes.
Where people can, who may not be able to attend, but can get in the fun and do some fishing and raise some money as well. I don't know. I'd ask BJ and Brandei on that question too, how they've seen it grow, because they've been involved early on. You guys have any thoughts on growth?
Well, when we started down in the Gettysburg fishing tournament, I think it was back in 2004 was the first tournament. Bob and Judy Beadle had invited us down just to see the event. We'd heard about it. some of the folks that ran the tournament down there at the time were friends of ours, and actually clients of mine when I had the CPA firm out in Mobridge, the Cronins, and who did a wonderful job. Dan Cronin was one of the original founders of the fishing tournament with Bishop Carlson at the time. So we just went down to see what it was all about, and we're very impressed with what they were doing. It just was an event that it kind of blew me away, really, with when all the seminarians and the priests showed up, and they had this big banquet at the end, and we did mass, and we really turned it into a family event for us every year after that. And it wasn't huge at the time, but just seeing the number of people that just spreading the word of mouth, advertising as to what was going on. It was amazing how the number of people just continued to grow at that Gettysburg tournament when we were so involved in that one down there. It's such a good feeling to be there. We look forward to it every year. I just can't say enough good things about it and the impact that it's had on us as a family.
Yeah, that's the really interesting thing. So the fishing tournament is one of the big fundraisers for seminarian education. So I imagine if BJ and Brandei, if you've been involved that long, Zach has grown up with this thing, hasn't he? And now, of course, he has obviously benefited from that, which is a really beautiful thing to happen.
Yeah, you'll have to ask Zach that story sometime. He'll tell you the impact that the tournament has had on him. And I remember one of the first years we were there, Zach was probably 10 or 11 years old. He was asked to do one of the readings for Mass, and he just thought that was so cool to be involved. And all the boys, the interactions that they were able to have with the seminarians, and all the priests that would show up for the Mass and the banquet, our boys realized early on that these priests are normal human beings just like us. They're not on a pedestal. They're not something out of the ordinary. They're just ordinary men that have been called by God to this vocation. And it was very real for the boys to be around that and to really become friends with a lot of them. As for Brandei and I as well, being able to meet so many of the priests and the seminarians at the time who are now priests. It's so fun to be around the diocese and be able to connect with them at the different parishes that they're at now, and to have those same memories of the fishing tournament. It's just, again, had a huge impact on us.
Yeah, there really aren't a lot of opportunities for especially boys and young men to be around seminarians and a lot of priests anymore, unless you're in Catholic school. But that opportunity just doesn't exist as much as it once did. So this is a great opportunity. So Brandei, maybe we'll bring you in here a little bit. A lot of people might not really realize why it's important that the diocese as a whole helps support our seminarians. So why is that important in their education?
I think the main thing is just by knowing the priests that have either benefited from the fishing tournament or the men that have discerned out of seminary. Some of those discernment decisions were based on finances. Seminary is expensive. We send them, our diocese sends them to the best seminaries. College in and of itself is expensive, but this is their full-time job, being a student at the seminary, going to parishes, just learning how to interact with people. They can't have summer jobs to raise, funds for gas or, they are the men that are in seminary. They are college, most of them college men. They like having the college experience. So we're going out for dinner. We're going and playing, whatever, racquetball. Those things cost money. And the one thing that I was bound and determined not to have said to me was, I'm discerning out of seminary because I can't afford it. And I think one of the biggest benefits that especially our diocese has our seminarians is giving them that freedom to just discern God's will. They don't have to worry about, where their gas is coming from. We want to help them that way. And I think that's so important. It's just one level stress that these men do not need to have in seminary.
Yeah, I think that's really important to point out. And the other thing I think that's really important to point out is that you mentioned sometimes men discern out because of cost. Sometimes they discern out because it's not the right thing for them. And I think it's important for us to remember that's not wasted money, because most of those men who go to seminary and discern out, they're very good men. They've really grown in their faith, and they make great husbands, great employees, great employers. So it's just a win all the way around, regardless.
Renee, can I jump in on that?
Sure. Yeah.
There's two young men who entered the seminary, I think in part or maybe a big part, related to this event. Both of them from our neck of the woods have discerned out at some level. And now I look at, one of them happens to be my son. And I look at him now as a husband and father, and what you said is very true. That money was not wasted.
No.
It's very, very amazing when I look at him as a young father and his family that he started. That's quite impressive. And so it's very humbling to see that side of it as well. It's the people I personally know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, very true.
And one thing on the groan, my wife says this, my wife Cindy says this very well. It's like a big family reunion every year. So the other way is that the family reunion just keeps getting bigger. And isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yes.
I think that her simple way of saying that is a beautiful example of what's happened over the years. And one of the greatest pleasures is to have one of those young seminarians in your boat for the day and get to know them and razz them about missing a fish here or there, and praying a rosary with them, and just having a fun day on the water. A lot of people ask for the same seminarian the next year, so that's pretty cool. Part of this.
I didn't know that was part of it, that some of the seminarians get in the boat. Of course, I'm not into fishing, so the fishing tournament isn't the thing for me. But there's lots of people who are.
But you try a fishing tournament on, you never know what might happen. I think BJ or I would put you in our boat.
Oh, goodness gracious.
No doubt about it. No, we'd have you, no doubt about it.
It'd be a marketing experience.
You might regret that. I imagine that, you said that this is like a big family reunion. So you really kind of develop this faith family that's outside of the parish family, which is really an awesome thing as well. And it helps people grow their faith in a different way that maybe they didn't see coming.
Kind of a South Dakota real life rubber meets the road faith event.
Yeah.
In this case, it's the boat meets the water, but it's a resource that God's given us. He said, "Let there be walleyes," and there were walleyes. And he said, "Let there be lakes and rivers," and there were. And so, natural resource that we have being used to glorify God, to raise some money for the seminarians, and come together as a faith community. I don't know if it gets much better than that, Renee. So
right.
You might have to rethink your
Okay, I'll do that. I'll rethink it. No promises, though. Okay, do any of you or each of you have an especially memorable experience that has happened to you during one of the tournaments? Wade, maybe we'll start with you.
A ton of them.
Pick
them are pick one. Most of them are related about a seminarian being in the boat. I will never forget. I'm going to give you one that's not seminarian related.
Okay.
I'm going to give you two. One was a young guy who went into the seminary, was in our boat, didn't do a lot of fishing. He caught the biggest walleye, and that fish was in really shallow water. You could see the fish chasing the lure and come and bit, and he caught it. And the joy that young man had out of that was pretty amazing. The second one is marketing in nature. the marketing director for the Archdiocese, and spacing his name, he came out and did the event because he wanted to do a story. And right, we told him when he got in the boat, the rule is you have to pray a rosary if you're going to get in this boat during the event. And we caught a few fish, and then we started the rosary. And I kid you not, immediately after finishing the rosary, the fish just went crazy. And we caught a bunch of fish, and he got a first place plaque.
Nice.
And his response to the fact that through prayer and fun, that he could, in the outdoors, that he could have that experience was pretty profound. I'm spacing his name right now. I'm sorry about that.
I'm sure he'll be listening. If you remember his name, you tell him to listen, and then he'll hear how you forgot his name.
I might have met him. Never mind. I'll
yeah. BJ or Brandei, do you have any?
I don't have a specific incident. I just know each one of them has been just a great time to reacquaint myself with people from around the diocese, but also just to check in on the seminarians and see how the year's going, what their summer plans are. Maybe, if they want to share any pros or cons. I feel that I've become a mother to a lot of men who are now priests, and it's just great knowing a whole bunch of these seminarians and the priests that we have put through this tournament.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm sure they need a few adopted mothers around the diocese to help them through stuff. So that's great. BJ, anything from you?
Yeah, I guess every year is just an exciting time to be there. I enjoy the heck out of this tournament, but in particular, I remember one year in Gettysburg where Mark Konzemius was trying to get Bishop Swain on the boat. So we had come in from brought our pontoon into the dock in Gettysburg there and picked up Bishop Swain, and we hadn't caught a fish, and we no more got Bishop Swain on the boat, and we had a walleye. So it was we felt like there was a little divine intervention there.
Yep.
To finally catch a fish. But the other times, the impact that it had on our boys, watching them participate in the mass, being asked, Zach that year when he was 10 or 11 to be able to read at mass, and seeing the impact on them. One kind of funny experience, funny now, but the boys, they're typical boys. I think Lucas was maybe 7 or 8 years old at the time, and they were all down by the river messing around. Justin Cronin was there, and they were throwing rocks into the water, and one of the older boys sort of missed the lake and hit Lucas in the back of the head with a rock.
Whoops.
And split his head wide open, and he was bleeding, and he came running back up to the cabins, and the first thing he said was, can Bishop bless my head? So sure enough, Bishop was going to bless his head, and then we took him in to get some staples put in his head to put him back together.
Oh my goodness.
He still has the scar on the back of his head. It's kind of,
poor kid.
But those are the things that, just make memories. It's fun to get together with the VanDovers and the Rouches and the Closes and all the people and the foundation staff, and remember back in Gettysburg with the Cronins, their involvement for so many years, all the things that they've done to promote this and to ultimately raise money.
Yeah.
We saw firsthand, Zach used to bring home seminarians for spring break because they were from, outside of that Minneapolis area or too far away to really want to go home for those few days that they had off. And so we got to meet a lot of these guys from around the country. And I remember Zach's first roommate, who was from Michigan, and he was charged with raising his own tuition. I mean, he had to pay for everything. And, he ended up discerning out, I think, after his 4th year. And just the pressure, you could see the pressure and the stress, you talk about it. And, because Zach would share with them, how our diocese operated. And there was another individual, his name was Jake, who was from Alaska. He'd go back home every summer and have to work on a fishing boat. Where Zach had opportunities to come back and be part of Totus Tuus or be in a parish, to have those opportunities to really discern and to grow in his faith and have that opportunity to focus on really being a seminarian rather than worrying about the financial piece of it. So this tournament's been huge that way for our seminarians and our priests in our diocese.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because it's really important for people to really understand what a gift this is in our diocese, that we're able to do this for our seminarians and to be able to continue to do it as we go each year. So, okay. Before we go, Wade, will you give us details of when the events happen, where it is? Because I know it's not just Big Stone City. There's another tournament. So will you fill us in on that, please?
Yeah, one of the other, I think, amazing things is that how hard the Cronin family worked to get this going, and then how open they were to allowing the tournament to be moved to Pier. And so that was, when you start something and to see the good of the whole. So there are 2 events, one in Pier, and that is, I can get the dates.
Is it June 4th?
No. Monday, June 7th is Big Stone, and
June 6th.
June 6th, thank you. And then 7 days later, the following Monday, June 13th.
Okay,
is
yep.
Pier. While that's all going on during that time frame, we have the virtual tournament going on. Basically, a couple simple rules, but you got to download an app, and you got to fish within the diocesan boundaries, and you can fish virtually, and that's gained some popularity. That got started because of the pandemic,
Yep.
and then it's still going forward. But I want to commend the Pier folks who are not here. It's a different fishery. They do a fabulous job. The priest there is kind of taking that under his wings as well. So I just want to say hats off to the Pier committee as well.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. And Bishop will be, I believe, at both tournaments as far as I know. So if you haven't before, you can go to the foundation's website, South Dakota Catholic Community Foundation for Eastern South Dakota. And you can find information and register for the tournaments. Donate if you can't go, whatever it is that works best for you. But go and become a part of that family. It sounds like a fun thing to do. I might even consider it myself. I don't know if I could convince my husband to do it, but also not a fisherman, but you just never know. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for being with me today and talking about the tournament and the effect it's had on you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Renee.
Yep, you bet. Thanks. All right. You can always find us at sfcatholic.org anytime if you would like to watch this on video or hear the audio of any of our podcasts. That's it for us today. Hope you'll join us again next week for more Catholic Views.